President Biden ignoring a barrage of questions from reporters yesterday after his remarks on the administration's COVID response. Watch this.
Mr. President, do you have a message for vaccinated Americans who are wondering why they should continue to restrict their activities, given that your health officials say most Americans will get COVID at some point?
Folks, we'll talk about that later. Come on.
Maybe a press conference soon, Mr. President. We look forward to that.
Me too.
He said he'd look forward to that too. Okay, so this data comes as from the Associated Press, shows the president held fewer first-year press conferences than the 5 previous presidents. Reporters have asked Press Secretary Jen Psaki about this for months. Here are some of her responses to that.
He takes questions multiple times a week. His schedule has been quite packed, but he would like to do it. Hopefully, we will be able to add some local interviews in the next couple of weeks. The president's taken your questions.
So let's bring in the power panel. Mercedes Schlapp, senior fellow at the ACU Foundation and former Trump White House strategic communications advisor, and Brad Woodhouse, senior advisor to the DNC, former DNC communications director and former Obama campaign senior advisor. Great to have you both with us. Brad, so what's going on? You know, we watched the campaign, which was mostly from the basement. He didn't get out a whole lot on the campaign trail. Is there a reason why this White House does not want the president to answer questions on a more regular basis?
Well, look, Martha, for one, I don't think that's even true. First of all, you showed him in that clip answering questions from the press. You may not like the answers, may not like the length of the answers, but he was answering questions from the press.
He didn't answer either question. He said, we'll talk about that later, and maybe I'll do a press conference. Those aren't answers to the questions.
Well, those clearly are answers to the questions. He didn't just walk out of the room. But the bottom of that chart that you showed from the AP, which was a study by Towson University, showed that he's done 216 informal Q&As as of December 31st. That's almost double what Trump did in terms of informal Q&A. So it's not that he's not taking questions from the press.
Brad. You know what? Let me tell you something. A lot of those.
216 is right there.
Facts. This is not my. Listen to me. Let me tell you how most of those go. Okay, it's like a minute 30, and then someone jumps in and says, "Okay, we're done, and the president says something like, "Oh, I wasn't supposed to answer questions." So that counts for those. And you know as well as I do. That President Trump, love him or hate him, he did like 20 to 40 minutes every time he got on and off the chopper of freewheeling Q&A, and Mercedes knows this better than anybody.
What did that, Martha? What did that do for him? He lost re-election. What did that do for him? I mean, what's the? Yeah,
so he should be quiet so that you don't lose. What did it do, Mercedes? What did it do for him?
I got to bring out the popcorn. This is too good. Okay, so Brad, any communications expert knows that this idea that Biden is actually having quote unquote press conferences, it's not happening. He literally doesn't go into answering any complicated question on a variety of issues. He literally gives maybe a sentence or two and then walks out of the room. That is a
216. You saw the number.
Informal.
216.
I'm saying press conferences where he's standing right there in front of the press for 30 minutes.
Mercedes, I got a question for you.
Answering a variety of questions. Brad, chill out. Let me just get in here. You had your time to talk. Here's the deal. What the problem is that it is a disservice to Americans. We need to get to the bottom of this. The problem is I think that the communications team is giving the president bad advice. You can't just be a scripted, telepromptered president. That is not effective. They're trying so hard to control the message for President Biden. They're so scared he's going to fumble on answering what you would say are unscripted questions. And I actually think that the comm shop is doing a disservice to President Trump, to President Biden.
Well, you know what?
He should be going out there. He should be answering the tough questions.
And you know, there's a lot of discussion about whether or not he needs to change the deck chairs in the chief of staff office, perhaps in the communications office. The vice president has changed quite a few deck chairs. A number of people have left. A Washington Examiner op-ed titled to Staff, Kamala Harris is a clueless bully who refuses to do her homework. This is a piece in the Washington Examiner. That's an editorial. It accuses her of ignoring briefing materials that have been prepared by her staffers and says that she has a history of doing this in prior jobs as well. It comes as critics tear into her, quote, word salad answer on how the administration plans to shift gears and meet the moment with COVID. And this was her answer. President to fictional characters like Adam Sandler's Billy Madison or Michael Scott from The Office with that convoluted answer. And Selena Meyer from Veep, this article says it's like a Veep, like an episode of Veep watching this. Brad, what do you say?
Well, look, first of all, let me just say this. The amount of time this network spends bashing the vice president is a real tell how worried you are about her as a future political leader in the Democratic Party.
Oh,
but look,
boy.
the thing that she talked about there is that is critically important is vaccines. That's a very substantive part of the strategy. It's vaccines, it's masks, it's tests. The administration is doing this. Republicans are prolonging the pandemic because they are not doing those things.
So she was on the Today Show, and it was pretty clear that Craig Melvin felt like that was a question that really needed an answer from this vice president. And we are not bashing anybody. We're looking at what's going on. That's a question that she should have been really ready for. What is going on? There have been a number of failures. You can put them up on the screen and look at them. The American people want a successful president, a successful vice president. Mercedes, quick thought here before we go.
Well, obviously, Kamala's poll numbers are very bad. You look at the fact that she is a weak vice president. She adds very little value to the team. And it also looks like she's not briefed on these materials and on these